Have you ever looked at your latest blood test, seen the word creatinine, and told yourself, I feel fine? So it can't be that serious, only to quietly wonder why your doctor didn't sound as reassuring as you hoped. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and I need to tell you something important right now. Because what makes high creatinine truly dangerous is not how it makes you feel today, but how silently it can rise day after day, damaging your kidneys long before your body gives you any warning signs at all. Here's the urgent truth: most people over 50 in America are never told clearly enough. By the time symptoms like swelling, fatigue, or abnormal labs finally appear, a significant part of kidney function may already be lost, and in many cases it cannot be fully reversed. I've sat across from countless patients who said the same thing to me, doctor. I wish someone had explained this sooner, and that sentence is exactly why I'm speaking to you now, before small daily habits quietly push your kidneys closer to a breaking point you never felt coming. But this is not a message of fear, and it's certainly not about giving up everything you enjoy. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how some everyday foods many Americans still believe are harmless can silently drive creatinine higher. And more importantly, I'll walk you through practical, realistic changes that can help reduce stress on your kidneys and give them a real chance to stabilize. Because once you understand what's happening beneath the surface, you regain something incredibly powerful: control, clarity, and the ability to protect your health before it's too late. One of the very first kidney-damaging habits I see, especially in people over 50, starts with something that feels completely harmless: a small bowl of salted cashews or salted peanuts at night. It doesn't look dangerous, it doesn't feel excessive, and for many Americans, it's been a routine for decades during TV time, while driving long distances, or simply as a quick protein snack they believe is doing their body a favor. I still remember a 61-year-old patient who sat in my office and said, "Dr. Ellis, I don't eat junk food. I just snack on nuts." What he didn't realize was that this one habit was quietly pushing his blood pressure up and forcing his kidneys to work harder every single day without pain, without warning, and without any signal that something was going wrong. Here's the science most people never hear explained clearly. A small handful of salted cashews can contain anywhere from 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium, and salted peanuts are often right in the same range. For a healthy 30-year-old, that might not sound alarming, but after age 50, when kidney filtration naturally declines, sodium becomes a completely different problem. Excess sodium causes water retention, which raises blood pressure, and when blood pressure rises, the tiny blood vessels inside the kidneys constrict. That forces the kidneys to filter against higher pressure, accelerating wear and tear, and pushing creatinine upward, even if everything else in your diet looks reasonable. Studies consistently show that high sodium intake is strongly linked to faster kidney function decline, particularly in people with already elevated creatinine or reduced GFR. What makes this even more dangerous is what often comes with those salted nuts. Many commercial varieties are roasted in cheap, reused oils and flavored with additives like MSG. These oils oxidize, easily triggering low-grade inflammation throughout the body. Inflammation doesn't just affect joints or the heart, it directly damages kidney tissue and reduces the kidney's ability to filter waste efficiently. I've seen patients come in with swollen ankles, fluctuating blood pressure, and rising creatinine, completely unaware that a healthy snack was quietly contributing to the problem. And that's what makes this habit so deceptive. You don't feel the damage while it's happening. Now, this is where I want to be very clear. I'm not telling you to give up nuts forever. The solution is not fear, it's precision. Switching to unsalted or dry roasted cashews and peanuts can dramatically reduce sodium load. Even better portion control matters more than most people think. Dividing nuts into small containers ahead of time prevents mindless overeating and gives your kidneys a break. Some of my patients even roast nuts at home with a touch of cinnamon or black pepper for flavor, keeping sodium out entirely. Within weeks, many report less swelling, more stable blood pressure, and lab results that finally stop creeping in the wrong direction. But here's the critical part, and this is where I want you to stay with me, because avoiding salted cashews and peanuts is only the first step. Just knowing about sodium isn't enough, because there's another type of nut many people eat daily that puts an even heavier burden on the kidneys, in a way almost no one talks about. And missing this detail is where a lot of well-intentioned people unknowingly make things worse. If sodium quietly raises pressure inside the kidneys, Then phosphorus does something even more insidious. It builds up where your kidneys can no longer get rid of it, slowly tipping your entire internal balance out of control. After helping patients cut back on salted cashews and peanuts, I often hear them say, "All right, doctor, I switched snacks. Now I eat sunflower seeds instead." And every time I hear that, my heart sinks a little, because sunflower seeds, especially the salted flavored kind, are one of the most overlooked kidney stressors in people with rising creatinine. I once worked with a 58-year-old man who proudly told me he replaced chips with sunflower seeds every night while watching TV. His blood pressure still spiked unpredictably, his labs kept drifting upward, and he couldn't understand why until we looked at this one detail together. Here's the part almost no one explains in plain language. Sunflower seeds are extremely high in phosphorus, often reaching 700 to 800 milligrams per 100 grams. In a healthy kidney, phosphorus is filtered and excreted. But when kidney function declines even slightly, that system breaks down. Phosphorus begins to accumulate in the blood, and the body tries to compensate by pulling calcium out of the bones. This doesn't just weaken bones. It damages blood vessels, stiffens arteries, and forces the kidneys to work harder to stabilize minerals they were never meant to fight against. Clinical research shows that elevated phosphorus levels are directly linked to faster progression of chronic kidney disease and higher cardiovascular risk, especially in older adults. What makes sunflower seeds even more dangerous is the combination effect. The phosphorus burden is bad enough on its own, but when those seeds are salted, you're adding sodium-driven blood pressure spikes on top of mineral overload. I've seen patients who swear they avoid salty foods, yet a small bowl of seasoned sunflower seeds every evening was enough to make their blood pressure swing and their creatinine fluctuate from one test to the next. For people with low GFR, this creates a perfect storm pressure from sodium-mineral imbalance, from phosphorus and silent damage building week after week without any pain to warn you. Now, just like before, this isn't about panic, it's about smarter choices. If you truly enjoy sunflower seeds, the safer option is unsalted, unseasoned varieties eaten in very small amounts, 1 or 2 spoonfuls, not handfuls. Some patients benefit from soaking the seeds briefly before eating, which makes them easier to digest and slightly reduces irritation. When portions are controlled, the kidneys have a better chance of managing the phosphorus load instead of being overwhelmed by it all at once. Many people notice their blood pressure steadies and their labs stop swinging so wildly once this single habit is corrected. But stay with me, because understanding phosphorus is still not the full picture. Even if you avoid salty nuts and high phosphorus seeds, there's another category of nuts that looks innocent, tastes comforting, and yet can push creatinine higher through a completely different pathway, one most people never connect to kidney damage until it's too late. If sodium raises pressure and phosphorus overloads minerals, then sugar-coated nuts attack the kidneys through an even quieter and more deceptive route: blood sugar and inflammation. This is the category that surprises people the most, because caramelized nuts, honey-roasted peanuts, or sugar-glazed mixed nuts don't feel like junk food. They feel like a reward. I still hear patients tell me almost defensively, "Dr. Ellis, I don't eat desserts. I just have a small handful of sweet nuts in the evening." One woman in her early 60s said this to me while showing perfectly normal cholesterol numbers, yet her creatinine kept creeping up year after year, and no one could explain why. What was happening wasn't obvious on the surface. When you eat sugar-coated nuts, especially later in the day, the added sugar causes a rapid spike in blood glucose. In younger bodies, that spike might be handled quickly. But after 50, especially if there's insulin resistance or early diabetes, those repeated glucose surges begin to damage the smallest blood vessels in the body, including the delicate capillaries inside the kidneys. Scientific studies consistently show that chronic high blood sugar accelerates microvascular damage, which forces the kidneys to filter under stress, gradually pushing creatinine higher, even when protein intake seems controlled. And there's another layer most people never consider. Many sweetened nuts are roasted in low-quality reused oils that oxidize easily. These oxidized fats trigger systemic inflammation, and inflammation is one of the strongest predictors of declining kidney filtration over time. Inflammation thickens, blood stiffens vessels, and reduces oxygen delivery to kidney tissue. I've seen patients who avoided salt and watched their phosphorus carefully, yet their labs still worsen because nightly sweet nut snacks kept their body in a constant low-grade inflammatory state. The kidneys don't scream when this happens, they simply lose efficiency slowly and silently. The solution here is not deprivation, but substitution. If you enjoy that hint of sweetness, choose whole unsweetened nuts and create flavor naturally. Lightly roasting nuts at home with cinnamon or a touch of vanilla can satisfy the craving without spiking blood sugar. Some patients pair a small portion of walnuts with a few unsweetened raisins to get a gentle sweetness while keeping glucose stable. Preparing pre-portioned servings also prevents overeating, which is critical for avoiding sudden blood sugar swings that overload the kidneys. When patients make this change consistently, many notice steadier energy, less inflammation, and lab results that finally stop drifting in the wrong direction. But here's the key point I don't want you to miss. Avoiding sugar-coated nuts removes a major source of hidden damage, but it still doesn't tell you which nuts can actually help protect your kidneys rather than harm them. Because there are a couple of options that, when used correctly, can reduce inflammation and support filtration, and missing this difference is where most people stay stuck far longer than they need to. After warning patients about which nuts quietly damage the kidneys, the next question I'm always asked is almost urgent. Doctor, is there any nut that's actually safe or even helpful? And this is where the conversation finally shifts from fear to relief, because one nut consistently stands out when it comes to kidney protection: walnuts. I remember a 64-year-old patient who came back for a follow-up visit after months of worsening labs. We didn't change his medications. We didn't add supplements. We focused on one small intentional dietary shift, removing inflammatory snacks and replacing them with a controlled amount of walnuts. 3 months later, his blood pressure was steadier, his inflammation markers improved, and for the first time in years, his creatinine stopped climbing. What makes walnuts different isn't marketing hype, it's their unique biology. Walnuts are one of the richest natural sources of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, specifically ALA, which has powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Inflammation is a major driver of kidney damage, especially in older adults, because it reduces blood flow to kidney tissue and accelerates scarring inside the filtering units. Research in patients with early-stage kidney disease has shown that diets enriched with walnuts can help stabilize creatinine levels and support GFR by reducing systemic inflammation and improving vascular function. Walnuts also contain polyphenols, antioxidants that protect kidney cells from oxidative stress, the same kind of stress triggered by high sodium, high phosphorus, and sugar-laden snacks we talked about earlier. There's another critical benefit many people overlook. Walnuts support cardiovascular health, and the kidney's liver die by blood flow. High blood pressure is one of the strongest predictors of kidney decline, and studies show that consuming about 5 to 7 unsalted walnuts per day can help lower blood pressure and improve endothelial function. Better blood flow means less pressure on the kidney filters and a slower rise in creatinine over time. Add to that the fiber and magnesium in walnuts, which help stabilize blood sugar and lipid levels, and you begin to see why this single food can act like a buffer against multiple kidney stressors at once. Of course, how you use walnuts matters just as much as eating them. The safest choice is unsalted, unroasted walnuts eaten in moderation. Some patients lightly roast them at low heat for a few minutes to enhance flavor without destroying nutrients, while others soak them briefly to improve digestion. Walnuts blend easily into yogurt, oatmeal, or smoothies, making them practical, not just theoretical. When used intentionally, they don't overload the kidneys. They support them. But don't let this give you a false sense of security. Even walnuts aren't a complete solution on their own, because there's one small seed that often works even more quietly in the background, helping the body remove waste before it ever reaches the kidneys. And overlooking it is one of the biggest missed opportunities I see in people trying to control creatinine naturally. If walnuts help calm inflammation inside the kidneys, then ground flaxseed works one step earlier in the process by reducing how much waste ever reaches the kidneys in the first place. This is one of the smallest dietary changes with some of the biggest long-term impact, and yet it's the one most people completely overlook because it doesn't look impressive. I once had a 60-year-old patient tell me almost apologetically, "Dr. Ellis, it's just seeds." I didn't think something that small could matter. But 3 months later, he was the same patient who pointed at his lab report and said, "This is the first time my creatinine hasn't gone up." And that's when people finally understand how powerful the quiet strategies really are. The science behind flaxseed is remarkably solid. Ground flaxseed is rich in lignans and soluble fiber 2 compounds that directly reduce inflammation and help bind waste products in the digestive tract. Soluble fiber forms a gel-like substance in the gut, pulling toxins and metabolic byproducts out of the body before they enter the bloodstream. When less waste reaches the blood, the kidneys don't have to filter as aggressively. Clinical studies have shown that kidney patients who consumed 1 to 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed daily experience measurable improvements in creatinine levels, some seeing reductions of 5 to 10% within a few months, along with better blood pressure control and improved metabolic markers. What's critical here is how flaxseed is used. Whole flax seeds pass through the body almost undigested, which means most of their nutrients are wasted. That's why I always emphasize grinding them fresh, using a coffee grinder or small processor, and storing the ground seeds in an airtight container in the refrigerator to prevent oxidation. When flaxseed oxidizes, it loses its omega-3 benefits and can even become inflammatory, the exact opposite of what we want. Used correctly, however, ground flaxseed becomes a daily support system for the kidneys, not a burden. In real life, flaxseed is also incredibly practical. It blends seamlessly into unsweetened yogurt, oatmeal, or low-sugar smoothies. Starting with half a tablespoon and slowly working up to 1 or 2 tablespoons a day helps avoid digestive discomfort while allowing the body to adapt. Many patients report not just better lab numbers, but improved digestion, steadier energy, and fewer blood sugar swings, all of which reduce stress on the kidneys over time. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's consistent, and consistency is what protects kidney function after 50. But here's where I want you to pause for a moment. Knowing which nuts and seeds to avoid and which ones can support your kidneys still doesn't address the single decision that determines whether all of this information actually works in real life. Because there's one final factor often ignored, rarely discussed, that can quietly undo every good choice you make if you're not aware of it. Before we end, I want you to hear this clearly and calmly because it matters. If you're over 50 and you're worried about your kidneys or your creatinine, that worry doesn't mean you failed your health, it means you care. And caring is always the first step toward change. Your kidneys have been working quietly for you every single day, often without complaint, and even small, consistent adjustments can significantly reduce the stress they face. You don't need extreme diets or fear-driven rules. What you need is awareness, patience, and the willingness to protect your body one decision at a time. If this video helped you understand your kidneys a little better, I strongly encourage you to save it. Keep it as a reminder for yourself or share it with someone you love who may not realize how silently kidney damage can progress. And if you want to continue learning practical, evidence-based ways to protect your kidneys, manage creatinine, and stay independent and healthy as you age, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I share new medical insights regularly, explained clearly, honestly, and with your long-term health in mind. Most importantly, don't lose hope. I've seen many patients stabilize their kidney function simply by changing what they repeat every day, and you are not too late to start. With the right knowledge and the right habits, your test results can improve, your confidence can return, and your future can look far brighter than you may think right now. Take care of yourself, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.